your resume simple. Use as few words as possible that still tell the story. What I mean there is don't go long, don't go on and on, right? You want to write for, in my field of communications, we call it writing for impact, writing for persuasion. You want to tell your story in a crisp way. You know, when you open the newspaper and you read an article in the Toronto Star or you read an article in the Globe and Mail, there's not one superfluous word. Superfluous means unnecessary or extra. There's not one word in that article that you don't need. You should think about writing that way on your resume. There's no piece of detail in an article in the Toronto Star or the Globe and Mail that is not important, that doesn't tell the story. You should think about that as well. So for example, in your resume, when you are listing job experience, jobs that you've done, experience that you have, if you've done the same thing at 2 or 3 different jobs, don't repeat it. You don't have to be repetitive in a resume. If you tell me once that you are responsible for managing a mutual fund, I don't need to know that you've managed mutual funds at your last 3 jobs. I just need to know in one of those 3 jobs, you telling me that you've managed a mutual fund, so I know that's something you're capable of. Often I see people as they're describing their work history, where they repeat the same information over and over again. It makes your resume long. It makes the things that you've done not pop out, not stand out. So keep it simple. Don't be repetitive. And I have to tell you this, and if anybody does this, I don't want you to be offended. Employers are not impressed by your long resumes. If you've got a resume that is 4 pages long, it is too long. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've done in your career. You don't have to give a complete CV. I feel like many people are worried as they're doing their resumes. They're worried that if there's something that they've done and they don't include it, that's going to be the one thing that a hiring manager is looking for, and because they didn't include it, now they're not going to get the job. It's not the case. You want to, in your resume, make it crisp, tailored, and if there are things that you've done that don't apply to the, you know, when you're looking at a job posting, it's got key responsibilities and qualifications. That's very common in almost every single job posting. Your resume should speak to those items, to the responsibilities and the qualifications that are being asked for. If you've had responsibilities at jobs that aren't directly related to the responsibilities that are posted in the job posting, they're not important. It's not to say they're not important to you, it's not to say it's not an accomplishment, but they're not important to that resume for that job. If you have qualifications that are not part of the qualifications or that you can't describe in relation to the qualifications of the job that's been posted, you don't need to put that in. When the resume gets very long, you lose the impact. So you want to make sure that you're writing in a very concise way. You're not being repetitive. I also just wanted to share my own kind of perspective around what I look for in a resume, okay? As I am going through people's resumes, once I've done a first scan and I have a sense of who is worth taking a closer look at, there are some key questions I ask myself. Has this person done similar work? So if you're applying for a communications job, I want to know that you've done something that is either directly in the field or in some way related to the field. Now when I say that, what I mean is maybe you've never had a job before that has communications in its title. You've never been a communications officer, you've never been responsible for media relations, but maybe you tell me in your job that that you worked for a marketing company where your job was writing content all the time. Or you worked in financial services and you were responsible for writing letters to clients or whatever. You want to demonstrate that even if you haven't done work that is explicitly related to the sector, that you've done that kind of related work before. So that's one of the first things I look for in a resume. Do they have a track record? Is there some kind of demonstrated success, even if it is slightly outside of the field? The next thing that I look for, and this is maybe a personal bias, and I want to share this just because not every hiring manager is the same. I don't always look for the person who has the very best qualifications or who is pardon me, the most well-positioned to take a job. I look for balance. So, in the financial field, you look for a balanced portfolio in terms of investments. I look for a well-rounded candidate, somebody who is coming with the right mixture of education, experience, volunteer work, and then aptitude and attitude, quite frankly, right?